The seating chart burned in my hands like it was printed on fire rather than cardstock. Table 17. Tucked behind a decorative screen, directly beside the swinging kitchen doors. I blinked at the elegant calligraphy spelling my name as voices and laughter from the rehearsal dinner faded to a dull roar behind me. "It's just logistics, Terry," my sister Penelope said, appearing beside me with champagne flute in hand. She gestured vaguely toward the ballroom blueprint. "Quentin's family is huge and we had to prioritize couples." Her diamond engagement ring caught the light as she tucked a strand of perfect blonde hair behind her ear. "You understand, right?" Through the doorway, I could see our mother straightening Quentin's father's tie, laughing too loudly at whatever the distinguished judge had said. Table 1 held a senator, 2 other judges, and Quentin's uncle who sat on the boards of 3 Fortune 500 companies. My table held my sister's college roommate's parents, 2 distant cousins I'd met once, and an empty chair that spoke volumes about where I ranked in the family hierarchy. "My name is Teresa, I'm 32, and a government employee. This is the story of how I taught my family to see me, by forcing them to look. For years, I'd been the family disappointment. Unmarried, working what my mother called some vague government job nobody really understands. What they didn't know, what I was legally prohibited from telling them, was that my vague government job was a senior position at the State Department's protocol office. Try not to draw attention to yourself tomorrow, my mother whispered later that evening, catching me alone in the hotel corridor. She glanced at my simple dress with thinly veiled disappointment. Quentin's mother is very particular about appearances. Maybe borrow something from Penelope, something more wedding appropriate. I nodded politely as 8 years of diplomatic training kept my expression neutral. 8 years of coordinating diplomatic visits, managing international relations, and advising on matters of state that would make their society wedding look like a backyard barbecue. The security clearance helped maintain my composure. So did the non-disclosure agreements. The reception was exactly as expected: crystal chandeliers, cream-colored roses that cost more than my monthly rent, and family tables clustered near the elevated head table like courtiers around a throne. I sat at table 17, my back to the kitchen doors that swung open every few minutes, releasing bursts of clattering dishes and staff instructions that drowned out the speeches. My cousin Catherine's voice carried across the ballroom as she delivered her maid of honor speech. "Some people are lucky enough to find their person young," she said, her voice syrupy sweet as she turned toward me with practiced sympathy. "Others? Well, we all have our own timelines, don't we?" Polite laughter rippled through the room. Mom smiled tightly. Dad studied his champagne glass. I felt 20 pairs of eyes shift to where I sat alone in the shadows. The secure diplomatic line buzzed in my clutch, not my personal cell. I excused myself, passing Catherine who smirked as I walked by her table, table 4, close enough to hear every word of the upcoming toasts. "Ms. Knight," Ambassador Robinson's voice was crisp and professional when I answered in the marble-tiled restroom. "Her Royal Highness's motorcade is 15 minutes out. She's asking if you received her gift." I did. "Please convey my thanks." The gift had been a handwritten note on palace letterhead expressing condolences that protocol prevented the princess from attending the ceremony itself, but confirming she'd arrive for the reception. "Everything's arranged on this end." "Excellent. Security sweep is complete. See you shortly." I checked my reflection. The simple navy dress Mom had criticized was actually Armani, chosen specifically because it photographed well and wouldn't outshine the bride. My grandmother's pearls were real, gifted to me by a Saudi diplomat's wife after I'd helped navigate a particularly delicate cultural situation. The shoes were practical Stuart Weitzman because I'd learned the hard way that diplomatic functions required comfortable feet. I looked exactly like what I was, a professional who knew how to dress for international relations. My family just couldn't see past their own narrow definition of success. When I returned to the reception, making my way back to table 17 through the crowded ballroom, my phone buzzed again. 2 minutes. I walked toward the entrance hall, ignoring the coordinator who tried to redirect me back to my assigned table. The venue's event manager, Nathan, met me near the doors. He was the only one I'd briefed about the situation, sworn to secrecy with the kind of authority that made him take me very seriously. "Security's in position," he murmured. "Holy hell, Teresa, you could have mentioned you knew royalty." "Need-to-know basis," I replied calmly, watching through the glass doors as 2 black SUVs pulled up, followed by a Rolls-Royce with diplomatic plates. "And Nathan, let it play out naturally. Don't announce her." His eyes widened. "You want me to let a princess just walk in unannounced?" She requested it specifically. "Trust me. The security detail entered first. Discreet professionals scanning the room with practiced efficiency. Then she appeared. Her Royal Highness Princess Olivia of Malrovia, third in line to the throne, international advocate for women's education, and my close friend of 6 years. We'd met during her first official visit to Washington. I'd been assigned to her delegation and we'd bonded over late-night strategy sessions and a shared passion for international development. She'd invited me to her brother's wedding. I'd helped her navigate a potential diplomatic incident involving a racist comment from a European official. We'd vacationed together in the Maldives, kept in touch across time zones, and she'd been the first person I'd called when my grandmother died. She was wearing a stunning emerald gown, a diamond tiara, and an expression of regal amusement as she surveyed the wedding reception. Teresa, her voice carried across the ballroom, cutting through the music and conversation. There you are. Every head turned. Princess Olivia crossed the room with the kind of grace that made people instinctively step back, her security detail flanking her. She walked past table 1, where Quentin's mother's jaw had dropped, past the head table where Penelope sat frozen with a fork halfway to her mouth, past all the important family tables, straight to table 17 by the kitchen doors. She embraced me warmly, kissing both my cheeks. I'm so sorry I missed the ceremony. Affairs of state, you understand. But I couldn't miss celebrating your sister's wedding with you. Behind her, Mom had actually stood up from table 2, her face cycling through confusion, shock, and dawning horror. Your Highness, you didn't have to come all this way, I said, following our discussed script. Make it natural. Make it clear. Nonsense. After everything you've done for our country's education initiatives, after you personally coordinated my mother's state visit last year, this is nothing. She glanced around the room with raised eyebrows. Although I am surprised they seated you back here. In my country, the diplomatic liaison to the royal family would be seated with the honored guests. The silence was deafening. Quentin's uncle, the board member, had gone pale. As someone who did international business, he clearly recognized both the princess and the implications of what she'd just said. Nathan appeared suddenly, intensely professional. Your Royal Highness, we weren't informed. That is, we have a table prepared. I'll sit with Teresa, Princess Olivia said firmly, settling into the empty chair at table 17. Although, perhaps you could bring the champagne from that main table. It looks significantly better than what's been served back here. One of the distant cousins at my table looked like she might faint. Penelope had stood, her face flushed. The wedding coordinator was frantically whispering to Mom, who was whispering to Dad, who was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Teresa, Penelope's voice shook slightly as she approached our table, Quentin trailing behind her. You didn't mention you knew, that you were friends with, you didn't ask about my life, I said simply. You assumed because I'm single and work for the government that I wasn't important enough for a good table. We should have been informed of your guest, Quentin's mother interjected, having rushed over with the kind of speed that suggested panic. If we'd known royalty was attending, I'm not a guest, Princess Olivia said coolly. I'm Teresa's friend, and I came specifically because she told me. This was a small family affair. That is, we have a table prepared. I'll sit with Teresa, Princess Olivia said firmly, settling into the empty chair at table 17. Although, perhaps you could bring the champagne from that main table. It looks significantly better than what's been served back here. One of the distant cousins at my table looked like she might faint. Penelope had stood, her face flushed. I wanted to celebrate with her. She paused meaningfully. I'm so glad I could witness how her family treats her. Quentin's face had gone red. As a corporate lawyer who had just made partner, he understood exactly how badly this could go. Miss Knight Teresa, perhaps we should rearrange the seating. We are quite comfortable here, I said, sipping the considerably better champagne that had materialized at our table. The view of the kitchen is quite charming. Catherine had approached, her earlier smugness replaced by confusion. Teresa, I don't understand. You never said you worked with, we all thought you were just some low-level administrator. You thought wrong, Princess Olivia said with devastating politeness. Teresa coordinates diplomatic relations for visiting dignitaries. She's advised on international treaties. She holds security clearances most government officials will never achieve. She's brilliant at her job, and I quite literally trust her with matters of national importance. She turned to Penelope, smiling sharply. Your sister helped stop a diplomatic problem that could have hurt trade between our countries. But I guess that's less exciting than flower arrangements, right? Penelope's eyes filled with tears. The guests stared. Phones came out. The wedding was turning into a public disaster. Mom rushed over, pleading. Teresa, sweetheart, this is a misunderstanding. No, Mom. You sat me by the kitchen because you're embarrassed by me, because I don't fit your idea of success. I kept my tone calm. You've always dismissed my job because you can't brag about it. Because senior diplomatic liaison doesn't sound fancy enough. Dad joined us, looking lost. We didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. I looked at Penelope. I would have told you, but you made it clear I wasn't important. Just an obligation. Princess Olivia stood up. I think Teresa and I will take our champagne on the terrace. The company here is disappointing. As we walked through the French doors at the far end of the ballroom onto the moonlit terrace, chaos broke behind us. Mom whispering about what people would think. The planner trying to fix things. Guests gossiping. On the terrace, the princess smiled. Too much. Perfect, I said, finally smiling. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the show. I'm sorry your family treated you that way, she said more softly. She raised her glass. To found family, the ones who truly see us. To found family, I said back. My phone buzzed. Penelope's wedding hashtag was trending for all the wrong reasons. Photos of Princess Olivia at my table. Videos of the speech and her entrance. Captions like, when you disrespect the wrong guest at a wedding. Inside, I saw Penelope and her husband talking to worried relatives. Mom and Dad looked small and lost. I turned off my phone. They'll try to make up now, Princess Olivia said. They'll want your connections. I know, I said, watching the city lights, but that's not how it works. You can't treat people like they're nothing, then suddenly care when you realize their value. Boundaries, she said, nodding. Very diplomatic. The doors opened. Penelope stood there crying, makeup ruined. Teresa, I'm so sorry, she said. I've been awful. I just wanted to impress Quentin's family. I was jealous of you, your confidence, your independence, and I thought your job didn't matter because I couldn't brag about it. It does matter, I said quietly. And so do I because I'm your sister. That should have been enough. Penelope nodded. You're right. I know an apology isn't enough, but I'm truly sorry. I looked at my perfect sister who had just learned a hard lesson. I accept your apology, I said. But here's the truth, I won't come to family dinners where I'm treated like a disappointment. Either you value me or we keep distance. That's my boundary. I understand, she whispered. And I'll do better. Princess Olivia squeezed my hand. I should go, but remember, you have family who loves you as you are. They just might not share your DNA. After she left, the wedding limped on, but the damage was done. The gossip would spread. The Wellington's perfect image was cracked. My phone buzzed again. A message from Ambassador Robinson. The foreign minister requested you for the European summit. Promotion papers are being prepared. Congratulations, Deputy Director Knight. I smiled, looking out over the city. They'd seated me by the kitchen because they couldn't see my worth. But the world had better tables and I'd already found my seat. 3 days later, I signed the promotion paperwork, officially becoming the youngest deputy director in the department's history. My parents called twice and Mom texted about catching up, but I didn't respond. As for Penelope, we had coffee the following week, on neutral ground. We talked about boundaries and expectations. She was learning, and I was willing to give her the chance to prove it. My relationship with my parents would take more time to rebuild if ever. Some bridges once burned leave only ashes.